we've sorted some one or two issues out, but we are back for God and country. And on this very matter, we have a security expert, a security analyst in the person of Basit Mohammed Yusuf to help us understand what's happening. Basit, if you can hear me, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. But if you could speak louder, the line is quite
Is it better now?
Yes, it's quite better.
All right, so straight to the point. Were you surprised to have heard some of the police were involved in the robbery?
All right, very good morning to you and your cherished viewers across the nation. So if I understood you quite clearly, you asked whether or not I was surprised about the fact that we had news of police involvement in million robberies, right?
Yes.
To be quite upfront with you, I will say emphatically without reservation that I was not seriously taken aback hearing that particular news because of the trend we have found ourselves recently as a nation as far as our security architecture is concerned. So, but just like any other Ghanaian, it is a worrying situation that we are all monitoring and carefully hoping that the right things will be put in their right perspectives moving forward.
Very well. Now let's talk about the recruitment process. Some are of the view that the manner in which we conduct our recruitment process is what is causing all that. Some have called for politicians to be excluded from the process to make sure we have fair or good people in the police service. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that narrowing the arguments to the recruitment processes, would have been providing a very skeletal view on the issues. Of course, the recruitment processes is a very important point to look at, as a contributory factor to where we find ourselves here. Because people definitely consider the police, administration as a body that is a national or constitutionally mandated body aimed at protecting lives and properties of citizens in the country. But if we find ourselves in a sharply divided political space where political elites decide who gets recruited into this particular very important, constitutionally established body that is, suffice to say, supposed to be an independent body, then obviously it raises serious doubts over whether or not we are prepared to fully equip or present our police administration as a very neutral body and a force that is supposed to be apolitical, non-political, and also serving the interests of Mother Ghana beyond any political issues. So, of course, political infiltration in our recruitment processes is a serious contributory factor to where we find ourselves here. People, are presenting themselves to be elected into offices and using the basis of, police recruitment as some of the things that they are capable of, providing their constituents with. So after election, the constituents, as human as they are, would expect more from them. And obviously, when these issues raise, it becomes very, serious concern for all of us because the political elites would want to still maintain their, their political dividends, right? So they would want to satisfy their constituents. So of course, it puts a serious issue on, who gets into the police force or who does not find their way. At the end of which, all competence and passion is compromised. But aside that, we look at the fact that who watches over the watchman? That very salient question is asked. So if you have a political system where, the highest officer, if I'm supposed to put it that way, so the Inspector General of Police is an appointee of the executive. Obviously, the politics of the police administration would also become a matter of public debate, because people would want to, get, the bait of the political officer. And of course, if you appoint me there, what do you expect me to do? Obviously, I'll be dancing to your rhythms. So if you want us to have a conversation on the political recruitment, the infiltration of politicians into our recruitment processes, then by extension, we ought to look at affiliation. We ought to have a conversation whether or not it was important for us to also re-examine the mode in which we appoint the highest, office holders within our security, establishments. And I think that when we considerably look at that, it is going to place us in a much better position, to avoid some of these kind of infiltrations as we have all observed.
Okay. Basit, the other aspect has to do with JHS or SHS graduates who are recruited as well. Some of the view that we should only recruit maybe degree or first degree holders, at least to cut down the rate at which we have criminals at the police service. How about that as well?
No, I think that if we narrow the conversation into that lens, it would have meant that we are kind of aligning crime to, age factor, which I think is not entirely the case. Security issues are very complex, and in some security establishments, even minors are recruited to be part of investigation processes. There are special training offered them. It is part of the teams when it comes to security operations and security intelligence. So age must not, or academic qualification, it counts as determining factors. But our structure is made in such a way that anybody who gets there must averagely have certain requisite physical and some level of intelligentsia that better place them to be able to perform their duties. So of course, senior second cycle institution graduates, obviously for the time being, have been considered for other rank and lower rank officers within our security establishment. But it's not for nothing that this particular group of people also actively or largely forms part of the labor force in our country. These are young people at the time who are very smart, who are very agile, who are very strong and better placed to undergo all kind of physical training, and of course the medical examination that comes with the job. What we are failing as a nation is undermining existing structures. So it is not about say somebody is not fit. We know, if you allow people who places other premium factors beyond the passion, because whatever thing you are doing, it must first be fueled by passion. You understand?
Yeah.
And look, after the 1994, a bit of literature here. After the 1994, after the end of the Cold War, there was the Human Development Reports that came up with the human security paradigm. So that particular report highlighted a new shift or a more broadening knowledge or understanding on security. Previously, states were defining security in the sense of states and statehoods. So we're looking at security from the militarization point of view. So how much strength and security might you have defined the level of security. But after the end of the Cold War, the states identified that security, in the 21st century extends beyond, states and statehoods. So security looks at the fact that you are developed a security threat when you have a state, or when you have a sovereign state that does not provide the space for its younger people to achieve their God-given potentials. So the variables extended to bad governance, issues of bad governance. It extended to issues of corruption. It extended to issues of injustice. It extended to issues of marginalization, amongst many other things. So if you have a space where all these things extend or exist or prevail itself, then obviously you are an unsafe, or there are threats to your security.
Okay.
What is the linkages between this and that? Now look at this. We have a situation where you talk about graduates, lots of graduate employment.
Yeah.
A lot of young people in the country who do not even know the faith after completing school. So now, by virtue of the fact that you don't have enough job opportunities to offer these guys, people replace this, interest with with passion. You understand? So now people want economic livelihood. People want to be empowered. I mean, they want to meet their basic economic needs. So they try to put themselves up for this kind of reserved institutions. But of course, because we are in a space where political elites also put a lot of burden on themselves by trying to provide for what they know, what they are not supposed to even have themselves in there. So it leads to the infiltration of the structures. So it leads to the undermining of state institutions. It leads to the undermining of state protocols, as well as existing, guidelines of operations. So when that happens, obviously we are going to, as it were, find people who ordinarily shouldn't have been part of the state finding their way in there. And when it gets in there, there's zero for them to, as it were, get their overriding motive. Now the motive here has been changed. It's not to serve the country although, but it's to find themselves an economic livelihood, a source of economic empowerment. So if they find themselves and they find that, the salaries provided them are, obviously nothing to write home about. If I'm permitted to say that, and escalating, economic instability, what would you expect them to do?
I agree.
You understand? So, people would now professionals, unfortunately, would want to shortchange their professional ethics to kind of criminal conduct. And that is so unfortunate.
Okay.
That is terribly unfortunate as a country, and that we all as a people must seriously speak against that and put in stringent measures. This will extend beyond which political party is in power or whichever is not in power. At the end of the day, Ghana becomes, our relative security as a country becomes threatened.
Thank you so
much. Everything, affects us.
Oh, we are great. Due to time, we are unable to continue, but thank you so much for the details.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so. Abdul Basit is a security expert, and he was giving us information on the robbery that got policemen involved, killing a very colleague police officer last year somewhere in June. We'll be back. Let's take a very quick break. We'll be back to continue the show.
So I was a major guy. I feel me day, me bye bye. I've been the woman your mama come with dumping. But I'm in your bar, I'll be boosting.
Hello viewers, I'm feeling very frustrated and bored in Sambulai. I'm very happy. If you don't understand, don't worry, call me.